Well, I'm conscious of time, and I'm conscious that there are a lot of themes that are intersecting probably with the discussions we're having here. So I'd like to open it up to some questions now or comments from anybody who wants to join in. Marie.
Yeah, I think there's interestingly been a lot of comments about Bono in this conference. You know, a few people have mentioned his name, and I mean, I would suggest maybe in the UK there's a sort of strange attitude towards pop star who has become activist. You know, we've had Sting, who was trying to get this sort of authenticity about saving the rainforests, and you know, people were just laughing at him, you know, behind his back. We've had someone like, who I felt was very genuine, Bob Geldof, you know, with Band Aid and Live Aid, and really trying to get his message across in the way, you know, he thought best, but other people maybe balked at. But, and I think Bono is a case where people, certainly in the UK anyway, are a little bit sceptical about what's in it for him. And there's still that attitude, I think, where you've got someone from one career, if you like, moving into this, is it, oh, well, they're at the end of this and they still want this sort of fame, and yeah, let's do this. I don't know if it's the same in other countries, but I just wondered if, you know, what you felt about that, really. But I do think there is this sort of cynicism at times.
Perhaps maybe Nathan, you would address that first.
Well, I don't know too much about other countries. In the UK, he's a divisive figure in some circles, but for many, he's somebody who starts a discourse about particular topics, and that could be a good thing. But that discourse is very often rooted in a very capitalist, neoliberal kind of paradigm. In terms of kind of questions of authenticity, I know he was interviewed by Oprah Winfrey, and she said something along the lines of, here you are, this great rock star, you could be having a great life, and yet you're saving the world or changing the world. Why is that? And so it's his part of his authenticity, which is of course something that's he's identified as authentic by particular members of an audience and seen as inauthentic by other members of an audience. It's not something fixed, it's not something necessarily essential to his persona, to his character. It's something that's ascribed to him. And for some, that comes from the fact that he doesn't need his activism in order to perpetuate his career. He doesn't need it in order to kind of cleanse his public persona of something that would alienate audiences or potentially cost him in terms of economic capital. So that's actually, it kind of plays into his persona as an activist for some. And there are always others then who, and I'm probably count among them, I guess, who would kind of criticise and critique from a kind of an economic perspective of what is he doing, from a kind of an ideological perspective, or how is what he's doing consistent with kind of neoliberal ideas, how does his activism kind of get to the perhaps potential root causes of some of the social problems that he wants to solve, those kinds of things.
Can I just say, look, I think one of the things here in Australia we talk about the tall poppy syndrome, this idea that when somebody rises too high above their station, we like to cut them down. And I think, you know, a lot of celebrities suffer from that because people question whether or not they can really be altruistic. You know, they've chased celebrity, they've chased fame, they've chased money. How can they be altruistic? You know, and that's where I think that questioning comes from. It's kind of just that, you know, kind of suspicion perhaps of, you know, are they really, you know, doing this for a good reason? And, you know, I think some celebrities have to take a long time to transcend that. And in, you know, some people's minds, they'll never transcend it. They'll always be a bit suspicious of them, even if they are making impact, or at least looking like they're making impact.
So it was David first and then Dan.
Yeah, I think Bono's is really interesting, but I think possibly some of it's being missed. And the reason why I say that is that I've always associated Bono with religion. And if there's one other source of philanthropy, it's the relationship to religion. What's interesting about Bono is that it's Bono, or however you should say it, Sonny Bono, or some guy from Ireland, is that he's able to occluded in a very, very sophisticated way over an entire career. If you listen to a lot of how he presents things, there's a righteousness with which he has presented his music, and righteous in the sense of like being in the pulpit, being, preaching in a certain way. And I see his relationship to activism as something that is probably quite core within his being. But he is incredibly clever about the way in which straight-on religion would not necessarily play perfectly in a secularized notion of where celebrity is. And that's how I kind of read Bono, and I also read that's why he has had incredible connections to members of Congress that you would say, how does that person from the South deal with someone like Bono? And you can bet that the connection is probably across other fields, other cultural fields that were not necessarily identified. And I think it's important, one thing that was said earlier, I think by Carl, is that these people are incredibly sophisticated at spectacle. And so one of the things that I would say, reading a celebrity, particularly one that comes from popular music, is that they know how to embody the sense of a crowd, the sense of an event, the sense of an event that actually has a world tour attached to it. So they're an interesting phenomenon in terms of the way in which they can move political issues, which is quite different than what might occur from a film star, or what might occur from some other dimension of, maybe our micro online beauty celebrities would come at it from quite a different direction and produce a different constitution of a politics that we're not quite thinking about, and we're not thinking about that these people have their own complexities that they bring to these things.
Thinking about the more concept of celebrity authenticity, that it is dialectical in nature, because it is the quest for consistency between the public and the private life, the front stage, backstage. But on the other hand, it's also admitting that there is a complementarity between the two. So you are authentic by providing consistency, but on the other hand, you are also authentic by admitting that there is no real consistency between your persona and your private life. So whatever you do, the question about your authenticity will be there. So I think that it's very hard to escape this circle of authenticity.
It's like being cool. If you have to say you're cool, then you're not cool. But to be cool is not to admit you are, just to know it.
It's just to be it. Not everyone can be fans.
Really?
You could say it.
There's a lot of disappointment. Well, I think we might end the panel here a little bit earlier. Thanks to our panelists, and thank you for your